Welcome everyone to Reuflection. I'm your host Reufury, and today we have a special guest joining me, and that would be Ali G.
Hey everyone, I'm Ali G, the support for Mammoth Esports.
Howdy, howdy. Now, we have on our hands week 8 of, LCO, split 2, and we have 2 games. And we have first game against PGG, took an L, and the second game we have against Peace, actually. And we actually, funny enough, took a W.
As he's got the reinforcements, teleports straight into mid lane, Skimmy. They want the end here and now.
They certainly do, and it's slim margins for Mammoth to try and still make it into playoffs, but they'll take that gamble, they'll take that bet, they will answer the call and say it could be 1%, it could be 2%, but what we know for sure is that we beat Peace 3 times in a row this split.
Mammoth, woo, let's go.
Let's go.
The kryptonite of Peace. First off, let's look at the PGG game. And we go straight for the draft. We look at the draft of Mammoth, and we actually have you on Rel, and we have Voice on Sivir. Now, what was your thoughts in picking this Rel into this draft?
So what happened is essentially in draft phase, it came to me, and I was picked pretty late in the draft, but a lot of the champions that I would have preferred were banned out, and we needed something to sort of bridge the gap for our late game Sivir and help her get through the early game a little bit, ensure that she doesn't get dove 100 times. So after looking through the list, and there were a few champions we couldn't play, so we're like, oh, we can just play Ro here, I guess. That'll help, I suppose. And yeah, that's where we landed.
Landed on the Rel Sivir. Interesting enough. Now, we do look on the other side of the draft, and we see a Senna Tom Kench. Now, how does this 2v2 usually go?
Finds himself his first kill of the game. He's been putting in a lot of work this one. Rose, meanwhile, he's just going to gobble up Voice and just show how weak, apparently, AD carry may just be. There's the Abyssal Dive. Voice will sidestep that one. The Ignite goes out. The Flash Chomp.
I mean, if you have the ability to W in on Ro, I know where the enemy jungle is, and I think it can be pretty good for Ro Sivir. Tom into Ro is pretty good matchup for Ro, simply because you can cancel his W, you can just jump on his head, and like, what's he gonna do to you? Lick you? You don't really care, but I think it's a pretty good matchup, 2v2 alone, but yeah, I mean, as you'll see in that game, some things happened that made it a little bit difficult.
Yeah, actually, even a funny little interaction. I mean, Rel can still break the shield of the Tom Kench, right, for the E?
Yeah, she can, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little cool interaction. But the thing, we go a little bit spicy take is we look at this game and we see we have been level 1 invaded by Balkan once again. It comes down to Balkan's special invade tech where wherever he, every time we play, I guess him just playing overall, he wants to live rent-free in the enemy jungle. And we see this game where what actually happens is we get map split, and we're kind of just playing for that Sivir Rel, aren't we?
Yeah.
And we get completely map split.
That was definitely rough for the game plan. It was something we'll look to more in the future to make sure it doesn't happen, but yeah, it was definitely a big oversight, and them late invading made sure that our team wasn't able to help out the Sivir Rel, and we were sort of living knowing that we've got a Jarvan sitting in our jungle ready to EQ at any moment. So yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was pretty rough actually for pretty much the entire game plan, like you said, having the pressure of J4 potentially being near mid or near bot, or potentially, I mean, as Balkan usually has a tradition, to dive bot lane against us. So the constant threat against our strong side was actually pretty rough. But then something pretty funny is our jungle Mayfan, he decides, you've taken my red, I'm gonna go take your red, and we kind of just see him YOLO over the Baron pit and just steal the red, and he manages to escape.
Yeah, the madman does it. He gets in there, gets away with the red buff. I mean, I think Balkan's still pretty happy with that trade, but at least we got something back in return,
Yeah, we got that little clipper. Balkan searching in the jungle, where'd this monkey go? And then he's just out of there. Looking at that, how are you feeling at this game? Did it feel like a slow burn, or like too many mistakes happened? Like, what do you think?
I think we definitely made a lot of large mistakes early game, like not not respecting the late invade. A couple early skirmishes we made. Maybe we didn't play around Sejuani enough because, I mean, at that point the map split. We don't really have any other option. We have to try and, you know, destroy top lane at all costs. But I think it was definitely more of a slow burner game, and there were a few fights bot lane which were hard. Like as you're talking about the Sylas into Swain, it's rough. I think there was a one fight where bot lane in this bot bush, Sylas just 1v4, but he's just Swain 2.0, is just healing everything you got and like killing your whole team. And it's like, okay, this is chill.
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, the Sylas comes behind us, and you know, as a desperation call, we try to like maybe can we potentially kill the Sylas, and then we start hitting him, and he's not dying, and he kind of just kills us.
He's trolling, he's 1v4, kill him, and then he's like, he's not trolling. He has Swain up.
He's definitely in his right to be there. Not all things went bad this week, because we have the next game against Peace, and we have a bit of another upset. A little bit of I mean, we go straight into the draft, right? And we can see that you're on the Seraphine. We have the center bot. Now, what do you think, like, when your thoughts, we'll go over the thoughts again about, like, what do you think for this Seraphine center? Like, why are we picking this?
So we started with the center 1P, and they responded with Aphelios Renata, which I think is not really a very good answer, but we started Seraphine open, so we thought the best way to counter Renata and Aphelios, you know, long range, mobile, disengaged champions, is with Poke or an Enchanter, i.e. Seraphine. So that was a really good answer into it. They were just, Seraphine was able to nuke them from long range, and they weren't really able to do much about it, but I would say it also scales a bit harder than their bot lane, so it's just a winning matchup overall. But yeah.
Yeah, it sounds very good. Got a winning bot lane. They kind of forced into this, you know, kind of playstyle where Seraphine and Senna can kind of just get that long range advantage over them. But, you know, looking at, you know, more of this draft, we have the Talia, Shyvana, and the Kindred 5 pick. Now, we haven't really seen much of the Shyvana. And, you know, we have seen a little bit of the Kindred, but pretty much not at all. You know, what are your thoughts on seeing this the first time?
I mean, the Paprise's Shyvana is definitely one of his pocket picks. You know, something he has in the back pocket for if they have a cheeky blind Gnar, and we have the option to play around the Shyvana and let her free scale. So I mean, it's a good pick, and you saw what it did in that game, right? It just completely wreaked havoc on their team. But the Kindred was a bit of an interesting one. The Kindred probably isn't too happy that game, you know, with 4 marks gaming, I think, in the total span of the game. But I mean, we can just say she was a bridging champion, and maybe he'll accept that.
But the marks were just there for, you know, for fun, right?
Yeah.
But you know, we're looking at the early game, right? And there was a bit of some incidents in the bot lane. Actually, we had a couple of voice deaths. Now, what was happening down there?
Me and Voice definitely got a little bit ambitious. Definitely wanted to attack them a few too many times, you know. And then we got hand shook by Renata, pulled in, and then that was lights out for Voice, unfortunately. But I think the deaths after that were definitely pretty unlucky for my man, because a lot of the time it was just team decisions. We're like, oh, we can fight this, let's take Dragon here. But then, you know, we're like, oh, we have to leave. And there's still someone in there, and that is my man Voice, unfortunately. So he is the sacrificial lamb.
The sacrificial lamb himself, Voice. Now, you know, we look at the another portion of the early game. Actually, on the Talia pick, they have another Lee Sin incident, it seems, where Lisa cannot stop picking Lee Sin. And as you can tell, as a result, we kind of just win every game against Lee Sin. Especially that pick is just cursed for, it seems, Peace. And especially Lisa himself, to where we even look at mid lane level 3, to where Lee Sin overforces a flash to try and get the Talia, and misses Sonic Shockwave, gets shoved into the tower, and now he has no flash, and Lissandra decides, you know, bit of domino effect, let's do the same thing, goes for another aggressive trade, not respecting Talia is such a strong champion right now, and just gets bopped into the tower, and there goes 2 flashes.
Yeah. There's definitely a bit of mid lane domination from Yuru. I mean, I press tab and I'm like, oh no, I see Lee Sin coming. Lissandra's there. It's doomed for my Tilly. He's going to lose flash or something. And then you're like, alright, Lee Sin, no flash. And you still have flash. So I'm like, how on earth did that happen? So, you know, I go back, watch the board, and I'm like, oh, okay, my mid lane is just this much better, huh? His champion is just this much better, and Lee Sin is just this bad of a champion, I guess.
Yeah, it seems the Lee Sin cannot play into the Talia. We'll tell him that one. But you know, looking more at this, we kind of just secure every dragon. Now, how did this come about?
I mean, I think first dragon was we're just simply on the map a bit faster, and we had a good window to get dragon. I mean, Voice died for the first dragon, if I can remember, so he was a sacrifice. But overall, good trade. And then the second and third drakes, I think we got picks in advance, or were able to burn ultimates, stopwatches from the enemy teams. That made the fight pretty easy. But normally we just had Shyvana walk down, her first move from Narn, and we just use her as our face checker, and we set up vision, control the wards, and then just it's easy flying from there, really.
Yeah, it kind of just seemed like Shyvana just, you know, had priority, walked down, and was like, yeah, another dragon, more armor wedge resist.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely domination. But we can even talk more domination. We look at Poprise, and we talk in the mid game, he's just absolutely dominating. We're at this dragon fight level 3, and he's just throwing ults left. He's just like ulting and throwing E's left, right, center. Everyone's going down to 1 HPs. He's running them down like crazy.
All things considered, they were going to play for the Drake. Shyvana's going to ult onto Lisa.
Yeah, Poprise is on here to look at try and make this one
he's
happen.
angry.
He's hit the ghost. He's keen to try and get the reset. Flame Breath shouldn't be too far away right now. Twin Bite one more time. Water to your head.
Yeah, Pap Daddy on the Shyvana, just 1v9 in those team fights. They're all focusing on the center and the Seraphine, trying to kill the squishies, and Poprise is like, you forgot about me. He's just killing their whole team, but you know, he's a bit of a menace.
Yeah, especially one special moment being the Titan himself. He actually started running down one of the members, and then he like tried to retreat, and all of them collapsed on him, and he kind of just tanked everything to the point where all backup just arrived. We had the Kindred ult coming in, we had the Talia ult coming in, and then we had the Seraphine ult hitting all three of them, and they got wiped. Bit of a wombo combo, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, that was a nice wombo combo. The Insect onto our 5k health Shyvana, and then everyone crowding around him, lands Respite, and then they just get smashed by the Seraphine ult, and the Aphelios is left like, what do I do? He just has to walk back to base, sadly.
Yeah, sadly with his head down and his, you know, walking back to lane with his teammates all deceased. Now, it seems like Peace have a bit of a, you know, people have been saying Peace and Mammoth, there's a bit of Mammoth domination, and talking about domination, we're also their kryptonite, right? How we can't get wins against, you know, most other teams, but Peace we just seem to like destroy all the time. And you know, speaking of that, they have the superstar Violet. So like, what do you think? Why do you think we are the kryptonite?
Honestly, I don't know. I guess it's just a play style thing, but I think me and Voice match up stylistically pretty well into Gunkrab Violet normally, so I think that helps a lot. And normally you just have normally you in particular have some mind control tactics over Lisa and Appy in the early game, so. And then Poprise is just silently up there, just outscaling, winning, and then carrying late game on his Kayle or Shyvana. That's how he does it normally.
Yeah, usually on that scale hyper carry. And then you guys in the bot lane holding the fort, and then me mind controlling someone else.
Yeah, pretty much.
Works like a charm. But you know, that would be the end of week 8 of the LCO. Going for a 1-for-1 this week. And what's the looks on playoffs?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to lie, playoffs are looking very difficult, but hey, at least we still have that 1%, that little bit of hope that'll hopefully help us put in some extra effort in those final games. But I mean, even if we do get officially knocked out of playoffs, I think everyone on the team still has a lot of confidence in them at the moment. We're still going to be trying our hardest, and hopefully we can pull out some wins in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely try and give you know, the teams at the end that trying to get to playoffs themselves a run for their money. But technically, we still have that, like you said, that 1%. The stars align in some sort of, you know, galaxy where things come together and it's just perfect scenario. Every game's won and we make playoffs. But nonetheless, it is very low percentage, and let's be real, probably not going to happen. And that will conclude Reuflection for week 8. Now, thank you to our special guest, Ali G.
Thanks for having me, Rue. It's good being on Reuflections.
A pleasure having you as well. And thank you, everyone who's watching. Thank you to games who support us through the games and the LCO at twitch.tv/LCO. And see you guys for more Reflection. I'm your host, Reufury, of course. Have a good one.